Welcome to the Value Script, the podcast where we bring value every episode for the everyday person. We like to talk about, as we have on our pages, it says mind, body, soul, empire. I was thinking a little more along the lines of soul today, and I wanted to share something that's a little more spiritual than most of our typical messages are.
Yeah.
But something I found fascinating. This is the gospel according to Lonnie. This is not necessarily, I'm not saying that this is the way this is. It's just the way this hit me, and I thought it was valuable, so I wanted to share it. But I was thinking about, remember the story when the disciples saw Jesus walking on the water? Mm-hmm. How does that strike you? Like, how does that come across to you? Like, you're sitting there, you're in a boat, right? 2,000 years ago, by the way, in a boat.
I'd be losing my mind.
Not like in a boat, not like in a boat today, where you have all the modern conveniences and the confidence that it's going to float all the time and not leak and not have problems, and you have engines and all these things, right? Those things can all go wrong too, but it's just, I think I'd feel more comfortable sitting in a boat today than 2,000 years ago, and just me.
For sure.
You know, and these guys were fishermen. That's what they did. They were really familiar with the water. You know, they were probably decent swimmers. You know, they were probably decent fishermen.
Very comfortable around the water, right?
They had some, exactly. They had some time, they had some knowledge, they had some confidence about being in the water. And all of a sudden they are out and they see a figure walking on the water. And they, it says they assumed it was a spirit, and they were troubled. And Jesus is like, "Hey guys, it's me. You know, it's okay. It's me." Mm-hmm. First of all, I thought that's interesting. I mean, they're his disciples, right? Like, Jesus picked these guys anyway, you know, as to be fishers of men. That was one of the first things he taught them, was he could teach them how to fish, right? He's like, "Look, I can catch fish. I don't need you guys to help me catch fish.
Right.
I need you guys to be fishers of men. I need you to help me spread the word," right? But, you know, they're back in the boat, and Jesus comes to him. And he's like, "Hey, it's I." And maybe that's why, you know, they were back in the boat. Maybe he's like, "Hey guys, remember, we're supposed to be not doing this. We're supposed to be doing this," right? I don't know. Maybe that's why he came to him this way or not. We don't really know why Jesus appeared to him walking on the water. I don't necessarily think we know. Maybe we do. If we do, then you guys tell me and teach me. But I just think it's awesome how Peter says, "Hey, Lord, if it's you," like, he says, bid me come to you. And it's basically like, "Hey, you know, call me, beckon to me. I would like to come out there on the water with you." You know, like, I thought that's kind of cool. Peter's like, "I want to do that." I'd never thought of this before. Mm-hmm. I just thought, you know, I was thinking the miracle of the fact that Peter actually did walk on water. And I always kind of understood it a little differently. Like when Jesus, you know, Peter goes out there, it says he basically runs out of the boat, you know, because Jesus says, "Come to me." And so Peter says, was come down out of the ship, and he walked on the water to go to Jesus. There's like no hesitation. Like, he's like, "Hey, if it is you, beckon to me and I'll come to you."
Well, and he knew if the Savior is saying, "Come to me," he knew, okay, I'm going to be able to do this.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
here
no
we
doubt.
go.
And he just
right.
he walks just straight out of there.
So that's his trust in
the
Jesus,
Lord.
that
he
he was
has
there.
100% faith that, like, if he says I can do it, I know I can do it. And he just does it. Just goes out, gets out of the boat, walks across the water, and then it says the wind and the waves picked up. It says the wind was boisterous. So boisterous, like it must have been a lot and loud. Mm-hmm. And the big waves coming up, right? And then Peter gets scared, which is normal, right? I can totally see myself in that position. Like, "Oh my gosh, this is nuts. Like, what am I going to do, right? And as he gets...
I kind of imagine it to be like all of a sudden he kind of realizes what he's doing. Right. Like he's kind of in the moment of walking towards the Savior, but then the winds and the waves pick up, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm walking on the water. Like,
well, it's kind of like, how often does that happen to us? Like, you know, we're taught we need to get married. We're taught we need to be parents. We're taught we need to have families, right? And we did, and we just ran into that. And all of a sudden, when the winds and the waves come, it's like, what are we doing?
How do we manage?
What are we doing? Right? Like, oh crap, this is hard.
Life moments all over the place, for sure.
And there's times like this morning, we didn't necessarily know what the right thing to do was for our kids, right? But we decided a course of action, and we did it, and we feel good about it, and it's a good thing. And I think that's one of the reasons the story's here is to apply to other aspects of our life. But one thing I thought was interesting is right at the end, when Peter gets nervous, when the waves and the wind are pounding and he starts to sink, he calls out to the Lord, and Jesus immediately reaches his hand out and saves him. But then he asks him, wherein didst thou doubt? He says, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Who is he saying he had little faith in? Because it wasn't, I think the story is obvious Peter had 100% absolute faith in the Savior. Mm-hmm. To me, I think Jesus is saying he doubted himself. You had faith in me. You needed to have faith in you. Mm-hmm. You needed to have faith in you. And I don't know, when we talk about faith, I don't know that we spend enough time talking about having self-confidence, mm-hmm. self-worth, having faith in you. Like, you know you can do it. You've seen me do it. Don't doubt yourself halfway through doing it that you can do it. You're already doing it. Right. Like, have faith in yourself and just go. Mm-hmm. Do what you know you need to do. Do what you know you can do, and do what I have inspired you to do. Don't look back. Don't doubt yourself. Were you ever taught that way? I was never taught.
No, I've never thought about it that way.
Every time I read this, I always thought he must have had some faith in the Savior. Must have had some faith in Jesus, and that's where Jesus is like, wherein did you doubt?
I always thought it was like, okay, I have faith in the Savior, everything's good, but then when things get hard, it's like, oh, my faith is gonna diminish, or might be weakened or whatever by external circumstances. But that's such a different perspective.
Well, I totally agree with you. Like, that's how I would think of it as well too. But I think it shows that, like, when he was in trouble, he cried out and said, "Lord, save me," and Jesus immediately does. Like, he knew he could go to the Lord when he was in trouble, and the Lord would save him. Right. And I think the Lord is there to have our back, and he does save us. But he needs us to be able to grow and learn and have experiences so that we can become more like him. If he just does everything for us, then we don't learn to do that. We don't learn to become. We don't learn to grow into living a life like him, because he's doing it all for us.
And learning to trust ourselves, right?
Right. If the purpose of this life is to learn to become more like him, we can't just expect him to do everything for us. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden we become like him. We have to go and do things. We have to step into it. We have to act. And as we do that, we need to act in faith and in confidence. And I think as we go through our lives, we need to have faith in ourselves. We need to have faith in our ability to do and go. We need to be like Jesus. He has faith in us. We have faith in him. And we need to have faith in ourselves too.
Yeah. Al Fox Caraway had a phenomenal post too about the same topic. And she was saying, so oftentimes we're kind of hard on Peter, like the Savior's right in front of you. Why did you doubt? Why didn't you have more faith? Why didn't you, why did he struggle in that moment? But she was like, sometimes we forget he was the only one that got out of the boat. Yeah. He got out of the boat and he took that step. And sometimes we're hard on ourselves, like, gosh, I should have had more faith. I should have trusted more. I should have been praying more, all the things. But when we're even taking those small steps, whatever step it is, if you take that step, that means something. And it meant something to Peter, but it also meant something to the Savior. I'm sure that he showed that faith and that trust and put himself out there like that. And I don't know, we don't have to do everything perfect. Sometimes we get paralyzed by, like, gosh, what if I make the wrong choice? What if I don't do the right thing for my kid this morning? What if, all the things that come into life and decisions that we make each day, but just taking steps and learning to trust yourself and building that faith in yourself and in the Savior, it really goes together to grow and progress and become better and to become more Christ-like.
I love that too. You pointed out that, a lot of times we may look at this story and think of this may be an example of where somebody had a lack of faith, right? He actually did something, right? Like you said, he was the only one that got out of the boat. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but I think it's so cool that Peter was like, hey, he saw Jesus walking on the water. He wanted to do it. Like, he wanted to not only commune with the Lord, but I think he also wanted to be like, I would like to do that. Can I do that?
Right.
That looks really cool. And Jesus is like, yeah, you can do that. And he's like, all right. And he just goes and does it. I think that's amazing. Like, and there's a lot of parallels that we can put into our lives with that. And I think the main one for me is go forward in faith.
Yeah. I like too the perspective of like sometimes even when we're just interacting with each other or reading scriptures, even like we read the scriptures and we analyze it and we look at different characters in the scriptures and we're like, hey, where did they go wrong? Where could they have done better? Like, and try to apply it to our own lives and think about how we can do better. But it's also good to retrain our minds to think, where did they go right? What did he do right? Because yes, there's things that you can point out, lack of faith, whatever. But what did he do right? And what did we do right? Sometimes we're our own worst enemy, our own worst critic, like of all the things that we do wrong. But it's also good to think about and celebrate the things that you do right and the things that other people do right, rather than, oh, what are they doing? They should have done better here. Yeah. It's really good.
Don't doubt yourself, Meredith.
Perfect. Good lesson. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. That was the rant I wanted to share. I thought it was a great thought. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, because I know that my view may not be the only view. I know it's not the only view. I'd love to hear your feedback. Just wanted to share that with you. I thought it was powerful. It was powerful to me. And don't forget to do your part here. Clickety-click, like, share, subscribe. And we'll see you again. Another episode. Bye, Script.